Picture a world where winter arrives, food disappears, temperatures fall, and survival becomes less about strength than restraint. For many animals, the answer is not to fight harder, but to slow down. Hibernation is a state of minimal activity and deep metabolic reduction. It can look like sleep from the outside, but inside the body something much more dramatic is happening. Breathing slows. Heart rate drops. Energy use falls to a fraction of normal levels. In many species, body temperature also declines. The animal is still alive, still regulated, and still capable of returning to activity, but it has shifted into a different mode of existence. Hibernation is not laziness, and it is not simply hiding from the cold. It is a survival system designed for seasons when staying fully active would cost more energy than the environment can provide. The key idea behind hibernation is energy conservation. Every living body has a metabolic cost. Even at rest, animals spend energy to pump blood, move oxygen, repair cells, digest food, and maintain body temperature. For warm-blooded animals, keeping the body warm can be especially expensive in cold conditions. When food is abundant, that cost is manageable. But during winter, many food sources vanish. Insects disappear, plants stop producing, seeds may be buried, water can freeze, and prey becomes harder to find. If an animal continues burning energy at normal speed while taking in little or no food, it can quickly exhaust its reserves. Hibernation changes the equation. By slowing metabolism, the animal stretches stored energy across long periods of scarcity. It is like switching from full power to emergency mode, where only the most essential biological systems continue operating. Scientists describe hibernation as a form of seasonal heterothermy. That means the animal's body does not maintain the same internal temperature and metabolic state all year. Instead, it changes with the season. In ordinary active life, an endothermic animal, such as a mammal, works to keep its internal temperature within a relatively stable range. That stability allows it to move quickly, think, react, hunt, and escape danger. During hibernation, however, the animal stops defending that active state so aggressively. Its metabolic rate falls, and in many cases, its body temperature falls with it. This reduction is not random collapse. It is controlled. The animal lowers its biological demands while preserving enough function to survive. That is why hibernation is so remarkable. The body moves close to the edge of inactivity, but not beyond the point of recovery. Before hibernation begins, preparation is critical. An animal cannot safely enter a long dormant period without fuel. Many larger hibernators go through a phase of intense feeding called hyperphagia. They eat far more than usual and store that energy as fat. This fat becomes a long-term fuel supply, keeping essential systems alive when the animal is no longer eating regularly. Smaller animals may use a different approach. Instead of relying only on body fat, some cache food, storing seeds, nuts, or other resources in protected places. This lets them combine dormancy with occasional feeding. Both strategies show that hibernation is not a sudden shutdown. It is part of a seasonal plan. The animal must read environmental cues, build reserves, find shelter, and enter dormancy with enough energy to last until conditions improve. The length of hibernation varies widely. Some animals enter reduced states for only days at a time. Others remain dormant for weeks or months. The duration depends on the species, the outside temperature, the season, and the condition of the individual animal. A well-fed animal with strong fat reserves may survive a longer dormant period than one that enters winter underweight. Temperature also matters because a colder environment can increase the cost of staying active and influence how deeply an animal suppresses its metabolism. Hibernation is therefore not a fixed calendar appointment. It is a flexible biological response. The animal's body is constantly balancing risk, use energy now to become active, or conserve energy by remaining dormant. The best answer changes depending on weather, food availability, shelter, and internal reserves. For a long time, People often thought of hibernation only as the deep winter shutdown seen in small mammals like rodents. These animals can show dramatic drops in body temperature and very low levels of activity. But modern biology has expanded the way the term is used. Today, hibernation is often understood less by one absolute temperature threshold and more by active metabolic suppression. This matters because animals can hibernate in different ways. Bears, for example, do not become as cold as some small hibernators, but they still reduce activity, depend heavily on stored fat, and pass through long winter periods with sharply reduced energy use. Calling this hibernation recognizes the central survival mechanism. The body is deliberately lowering its metabolic demands to endure a season when normal feeding is difficult or impossible. Hibernation also connects to a shorter process called torpor. Torpor is a temporary state of reduced metabolism that may last for part of a day or through a cold night. Some animals use daily torpor to survive brief periods of low temperature or low food availability. Hibernation can be seen as a longer seasonal version of the same general strategy. Many experts believe torpor and hibernation exist on a continuum rather than as completely separate phenomena. This helps explain why animal dormancy does not always fit neat categories. Some species reduce metabolism briefly and repeatedly. Others enter long winter dormancy but may periodically arouse. The shared principle is that the animal is reducing its energy use when staying fully active would be inefficient or dangerous. Nature offers a spectrum of slowdowns, from short pauses to months-long survival states. Bears offer one of the most striking examples of how hibernation can support more than basic survival. Female black bears may enter hibernation while pregnant and give birth during the winter months or shortly afterward. Before entering the den, the mother increases her body mass significantly. That stored fat supports both her own body and her developing young. During hibernation, she may lose 15 to 27% of her pre-hibernation weight as her body draws on fat reserves for energy. Yet inside the den, she can still provide a warm and protective environment for newborn cubs. This makes bear hibernation especially impressive. The mother is not only conserving energy for herself. She is sustaining reproduction during a season when outside food may be unavailable. In this case, hibernation becomes a nursery strategy as well as a winter survival strategy. Not all animals that enter winter dormancy are warm-blooded. Ectothermic animals, whose body temperature depends strongly on the environment, can also undergo periods of metabolic suppression and inactivity. Reptiles, for example, may enter winter dormancy, sometimes called brumation. Their physiology differs from mammals, because they are not spending energy in the same way to maintain a constant internal temperature. But the survival logic is still familiar. When conditions become too cold or food becomes unavailable, activity is reduced and the body waits. Some researchers prefer using the broader word hibernation for winter dormancy across many animal groups, while others use more specific terms. Either way, the important point is that slowing down is not limited to one branch of the animal kingdom. Different bodies have evolved different versions of the same basic answer to seasonal hardship. Insects and other invertebrates show another version of this survival strategy. Many enter a dormant condition known as diapause, where development, movement, or metabolism may be suppressed until conditions improve. This can allow insects to survive cold, drought, or other environmental stress. Some wasps and beetles have been described as hibernating, even though their biology is very different from that of mammals. The language can be debated, but the pattern is clear. When the world becomes hostile, living systems often pause growth or activity rather than wasting energy at the wrong time. Even plants have a comparable idea in seed dormancy, sometimes casually called seed hibernation. A seed that waits through unfavorable conditions is not failing to grow. It is avoiding a fatal start. Dormancy is timing turned into survival. One reason hibernation feels almost impossible is that it pushes the body into a state we normally associate with danger. A very slow heart rate, reduced breathing, low responsiveness, and lower temperature would be alarming in an active animal. But in hibernation, these changes are coordinated and reversible. The body reduces demand so that reduced supply is enough. Tissues need less oxygen because metabolism has slowed. The heart can beat less often because the whole system is operating at lower intensity. The animal may appear deeply unconscious, but it is not simply abandoned by its own biology. Regulation continues, just at a different scale. This controlled slowdown is what separates hibernation from collapse. It is not the body failing. It is the body choosing a low-energy operating state that still protects the possibility of return. Hibernation ultimately reveals a powerful truth about survival: life does not always win by doing more. Sometimes it wins by doing less at exactly the right time. When food is plentiful and temperatures are favorable, animals move, feed, reproduce, and compete. But when the season turns against them, some species survive by matching their body to scarcity. They lower metabolism, conserve fuel, rely on stored reserves, and wait for the world to become livable again. This strategy can appear in a tiny rodent underground, a bear inside a winter den, a reptile in cold season dormancy, or an insect paused in development. The details differ, but the principle is the same. Hibernation is not just sleep. It is biological patience, a carefully controlled pause that allows life to pass through a season it could not otherwise endure. If you found this helpful, please like this video and subscribe for more explainers.